Week 12, day 5. Well, we come to a little bit of a crisis point here as we continue in our story, Joshua chapters 19 through 22. Now, we're just finishing up the distribution of the land and all the details that are recorded about that. But one of the things that we find is that much earlier, three tribes, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, had actually spoken to Moses before he had passed away and said, we appreciate the promised land, but we really sort of like this land to the east of the Jordan River, and we'd like our possession to come from there. And Moses said, okay, that's fine. And on consulting with God, said, yep, that's fine. But you still have to be willing to fight with your relatives, with your brothers in the other tribes as they take possession of the promised land in Canaan. And so that was the agreement. Now, at the point in which they're ready to go in and to take possession and to claim their actual land, Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh go back across the Jordan to the places that they had requested. And that's fine, nothing wrong with that. But then we get that the other tribes hear reports and find out that Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh have set up an altar. This is where the crisis comes. How dare they set up an altar? They are reminded of the golden calf incident and other places in which the people's focus was taken away from God. The other tribes ready to get up in arms and go and fight against them because they know that that is not proper and not what God calls them to be. God calls them to worship the one true God, to worship together at the tabernacle in Shiloh. As they're preparing and arming to be ready to fight against their brothers in those tribes, they come to a realization, and it is resolved that those tribes did not set up those altars as means of being to worship other gods or to separate themselves, but simply to be reminders to the three tribes that were not in the promised land, but had chosen space and land outside of that, that they were still part of this family of God. And so the altars that they built were not about abandoning God, but as serving as a memorial of whom they worship and to whom they owe their good fortune. And so we see that sometimes good intentions are misunderstood and misconstrued. How often have we seen something happen and misunderstood the circumstances only to cause a great deal of strife? Let us always remember that sometimes there's more to the story than we may be aware of. And so it's probably a good idea to get all our facts before we get ourselves all up in arms.